Have you ever promised yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll wake up early. Tomorrow I'll work harder. Tomorrow I'll chase my dreams. But what if tomorrow never came? This is the story of a boy who spent years waiting for the perfect day, until he discovered that the perfect day had always been today. In a quiet village surrounded by green hills and endless fields lived a 17-year-old boy named Daniel. Daniel had a kind heart, a sharp mind, and dreams larger than the mountains that surrounded his home. Every evening, he climbed the highest hill outside the village and watched the sunset. As the golden light spread across the valley, he imagined his future. One day, he would own the biggest farm. He would build a beautiful home for his parents. He would become someone the whole village admired. The dreams felt so real that sometimes he smiled without realizing it. But there was one problem. Daniel loved dreaming more than doing. Every morning before sunrise, the village came alive. Roosters crowed. Cows wandered toward the fields. Farmers carried their tools across dusty roads. Children helped their parents before leaving for school. Only one house remained quiet, Daniel's. His mother gently knocked on his bedroom door. "Daniel, the sun is rising." A sleepy voice answered, "I'll get up in a minute." 5 minutes became 30. 30 minutes became 2 hours. When Daniel finally stepped outside, half the day's work was already finished. Still, he smiled confidently. "I'll work harder tomorrow." Tomorrow. It became the most common word in his life. Daniel's father rarely complained. Instead, he worked silently, from sunrise until sunset. One evening, while repairing an old wooden fence, he called Daniel over. "Son, do you know why this fence is still standing after 30 years? Daniel shrugged. "Because you built it well?" His father smiled. "Because every time one board became loose, I fixed it that same day." He placed a hammer into Daniel's hand. "If I had waited until tomorrow, the entire fence would have fallen." Daniel nodded politely, but deep inside, he didn't truly understand. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. Daniel kept making plans. He bought notebooks. He wrote goals. He made schedules. He even drew pictures of the farm he wanted to own someday. But every plan ended the same way. "I'll begin tomorrow." Meanwhile, his small piece of farmland slowly disappeared beneath weeds. Broken tools rusted in the rain. The wooden gate collapsed. His neighbors noticed. No one laughed. They simply felt sorry for him, because everyone could see something Daniel couldn't. Dreams without action slowly become regrets. One windy afternoon, as Daniel walked home from the village market, he noticed an old pocket watch lying beside the road. It looked ancient. The silver case was scratched with age. Curious, Daniel picked it up. The strange thing was, the watch had no hands. No hour hand. No minute hand. Only one word was engraved across its face. Today. Confused, Daniel looked around. An old man sitting beneath a tree smiled. "You found it." Daniel walked over. "Is this yours?" The old man nodded. "It belonged to my father." Daniel handed it back. "But it's broken." The old man laughed softly. "No, it's more truthful than any other watch." Daniel frowned. "It only says today." "Exactly." The old man looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow hasn't arrived. The only time anyone truly owns is today." Daniel stood silently. The words sounded simple, yet somehow, they felt heavier than anything he had ever heard. Before Daniel could ask another question, the old man stood, picked up the watch and slowly walked away. As he disappeared down the dusty road, he called back one final sentence. "Be careful, young man. People who keep waiting for tomorrow often discover." Tomorrow never came. Daniel watched him disappear into the distance. Those words echoed in his mind long after the road became empty. That night, for the first time in years, Daniel couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, asking himself one question. What if I've been waiting for a day that doesn't exist? And without realizing it, his life was about to change forever. That night, Daniel barely slept. The old man's words echoed through his mind again and again. People who keep waiting for tomorrow often discover tomorrow never came. He turned over in bed. What does that even mean? He whispered. Outside, the moonlight covered the village in silence. For the first time, Daniel wasn't dreaming about the future. He was thinking about everything he had failed to do today. Before sunrise, Daniel woke to the sound of birds singing. He looked toward the window. The sky was glowing orange. His first thought was I'm a liar. I can sleep a little longer. Then another voice answered inside his mind. If not today, then when? Daniel sat up. It was the earliest he had awakened in years. His mother looked surprised when she saw him already dressed. You're awake. Daniel smiled. I think I've slept long enough. She couldn't hide her happiness. Without saying a word, she handed him a small basket of bread for breakfast. Daniel walked toward his neglected field. The sight broke his heart. Tall weeds covered the land. Broken tools lay half-buried in the dirt. The wooden fence leaned dangerously. He remembered all the times he had promised. Tomorrow. Every promise had become another weed. As he stood there, the old man appeared once again. He carried the same silver watch. Good, the old man said. You came. Daniel smiled. I don't even know your name. The old man bowed slightly. My name is Gabriel. And today, I'm going to show you something. Gabriel walked into the middle of the field. He bent down and picked up a tiny seed. Holding it between his fingers, he asked, What do you see? A seed. Gabriel nodded. And what could it become? A tree. How? Daniel answered, If someone plants it. Gabriel smiled. And when should they plant it? Daniel hesitated. Today. Gabriel's eyes sparkled. Exactly. If you keep a seed in your pocket, it never becomes a tree. The same is true for dreams. If you keep them only in your mind, they never become reality. Daniel looked around his abandoned land. It feels impossible. Gabriel shook his head. No, it only feels big because you've ignored it for so long. He handed Daniel a shovel. Don't clean the whole field. Just clear one small corner. Daniel looked confused. Only one corner? Success doesn't begin with finishing. It begins with starting. Daniel pushed the shovel into the hard ground. The first strike barely moved the soil. The second was only slightly better. By the 10th swing, sweat rolled down his face. His hands hurt. His shoulders burned. He looked across the huge field. The work seemed endless. His old thoughts returned. This is too much. Take a break. You can continue tomorrow. Daniel stopped. He closed his eyes. Then he remembered the watch. It had no hands. Only one word. Today. He smiled. No. I'm finishing this corner. Hours later, the first section of the field was finally clean. It wasn't much. Just a tiny piece of land. But something inside Daniel had changed. For the first time, he wasn't proud of his plans. He was proud of his actions. Gabriel walked over. What do you see? Daniel smiled. A beginning. Gabriel nodded. And every great success begins exactly the same way. As the sun disappeared behind the hills, Daniel planted his very first seeds. He gently covered them with soil, then poured water over them. It was a simple moment, but it felt like planting a brand new future. Before leaving, Gabriel placed the old silver watch into Daniel's hands. I don't need it anymore. Daniel looked surprised. But it's yours. Gabriel smiled. It belongs to anyone who finally understands its message. Daniel looked at the watch one more time. One word. He closed his hand tightly around it. Tomorrow would never control him again. But he had no idea that his greatest challenge was still waiting. The next morning, before the rooster crowed, Daniel was already awake. He looked at the silver watch resting beside his bed. The single word engraved on it caught the first rays of sunlight. Today. Daniel smiled. He picked up his shovel and walked toward the field. No excuses. No delays. No promises about tomorrow, only action. The first few days were the hardest. The weeds seemed endless. The rocks were heavy. His hands became covered with blisters. Some evenings he returned home so exhausted that he could barely eat dinner. There were moments when the old voice returned. "You've worked enough. Take tomorrow off. One day won't matter." Daniel would look at the watch in his pocket, then quietly whisper, "One day is exactly what matters." And he kept working. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, the field began to change. The dry soil became rich again. Tiny green plants pushed through the earth. The broken fence was repaired. Fresh flowers bloomed along the pathways. For the first time in years, people stopped to admire Daniel's land. The villagers couldn't believe their eyes. "Is this the same Daniel? The one who always said tomorrow?" His father smiled proudly but said nothing. His mother thanked God every evening. She knew her son had finally discovered something more valuable than success. He had discovered discipline. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled across the sky. A violent storm swept through the valley. Powerful winds tore branches from trees. Heavy rain flooded the fields. Many crops were destroyed overnight. When the storm ended, Daniel walked silently through the muddy remains of his farm. Part of his harvest was gone. Months of hard work had disappeared. For a moment, he felt like giving up. Then he remembered something Gabriel had once told him. Success is not measured by how many times life knocks you down. It is measured by how many times you choose to stand up again. Daniel took a deep breath. Instead of complaining, he picked up his tools and started rebuilding. The villagers watched in amazement. While others were mourning their losses, Daniel was already planting new seeds. One farmer asked, "Aren't you afraid you'll fail again?" Daniel smiled. "If I stop working because I'm afraid, I've already failed." Those words spread through the village. Soon, other farmers joined him. Together they repaired fences, cleared broken branches, replanted damaged crops. Daniel had become the person he once dreamed of becoming. Not because he was the richest, but because he inspired others. Years passed. Daniel's small farm grew into one of the most successful farms in the region. Travelers came from distant towns to learn his secret. Many expected him to reveal a special fertilizer or a rare farming technique. Instead, he held up the old silver watch. Still had no hands, only one word: today. He smiled and said, "My success didn't begin when I became wealthy. It began the morning I stopped waiting for tomorrow." One quiet evening, Daniel climbed the same hill where he had once dreamed about the future. The sunset looked just as beautiful as it had years before. But this time, he wasn't imagining the life he wanted. He was living it. As the sun disappeared behind the mountains, he whispered softly, "Thank you." Not to the watch, not to luck, but to the decision he had made years ago, to begin. Moral of the story: dreams are free, plans are easy, excuses are endless, but success belongs to those who take action. Never wait for the perfect time. The perfect time doesn't exist. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is uncertain. Today is the only day you truly have. The future isn't built tomorrow. It's built by what you choose to do today.